What's up, everybody? My name is Eric, and again, this is the Lone Star Trader TX channel, Texas. I am coming to you from Texas, and this is just going to be a quick video on ticker VKTX. Oh man, so I got on the StockTwits on this board and made this little friendly post right here. Uh, and I wanted to do this is kind of an open apology for making this post because while I don't regret it because it was accurate, not necessarily the 560 part. I have that whole problem with shit posting, and they kind of got the best of me. A little bit of humor tried to add in there. It didn't quite come across as humor. Um, and I don't necessarily think we're going to go to 560. I don't know. If I could tell you that, I would, be much, much wealthier than I actually am right now. Uh, but I do see a downtrend possibly, or maybe we could uptrend possibly. So technical analysis is essentially just trying to figure out the probabilities of an outcome. And this post particular, I said it was going to go to 968, and the low of the day happened to be 970. So there was some merit to it. I have to apologize for the way that it came across because that was, when it comes to people's money, I certainly want to take it a little bit more serious, and I didn't do that, and hopefully, and not hopefully, I will do a better job of that next time because I want to be taken serious in this space because I think I have a lot to offer. Like I said, 2 cents off is a pretty close call, and I really feel sorry, and I feel bad about this because I feel like a lot of people could have made more money had I been taken a little bit more serious. Not throwing a chart up there, not really giving an explanation, even though StockTwits is a little bit difficult to do that, considering there's like a 140 character limit. I don't know. I hate this site because it's so hard to come up with ideas and portray them in such a small space. Anything. Anyway, so let me get into it real quick. There's the first part of this video, and it's just going to be an open apology. The second part of this video is I'm going to show you exactly where we are. I don't claim to be a bear. I don't claim to be a bull. I don't claim to be anything other than neutral until something tells me to buy or something tells me to sell. So I'm going to get into it and kind of show you where this stemmed from yesterday, or I guess it was Thursday. So I've got this pulled up. VKTX obviously is the ticker. I don't really know anything about the company. I normally don't. I think someone said something that I don't know anything about Viking, and you're 100% correct. That actually made my day. It was pretty funny. So normally when I start out looking at any sort of stock or any of the charts that I go through, it's going to be a daily chart. That's my very first thing that I look at, and then I kind of see the state that it's in on the daily, and then I go from there. So if we're looking at it, obviously this is going to be the close on Friday. Let me pull up my annotate tool. It's a little bit easier to show you guys. So let's look at Friday. And one of the things that we got going on here, and I kind of like this, it's really hard to say. I'm kind of torn on this particular indicator. Right now we've got this bullish engulfing candle, which is a good thing, but there is a lot of selling pressure on the top. I mean, bullish engulfing means it's covering the wicks of the bottom and top of the previous day. And so let me show you kind of where that came from, why I said 968. So if you look at the day before that, which was Thursday, I used a combination of indicators, and as this is about as healthy as it can be. 50, a 25, or maybe it's 20, let me see. Sometimes I switch them. Looks to be a 20. Yeah, so my green line's a 20. Got a 50, 20, a 13, a 9, and a 3. All those EMAs are stacked in order, and that seems to be a pretty healthy chart. Obviously, we've got a little bit of variation going on here, kind of trying to decipher what it's going to do. So we're at like a pivotal point between bulls and bears, and this is where it gets really confusing. For me, personally, right now, I would not be playing this, and I'm not saying that it's not bullish, and I'm not saying it's bearish. I'm just saying it's indifferent right now, and it's going to have to develop in one way or the other. But I'm going to go through and kind of show you a couple of things that I'm looking at. So obviously we have that bullish engulfing. We're looking at the previous day. The reason I called 968 was because that's exactly where the 50 EMA was. And most of your EMAs are going to act as support. It's going to be just relative to whatever chart you're looking at, whatever time frame you're looking at. So I'm using my 50 EMA. Obviously, we pretty much crossed down from all of those, and it just, there was nothing. It was just sitting there floating. It closed somewhere around right under 10. I don't exactly remember. But that being said, I knew that our next support was going to be that 50 because it's a pretty common EMA. You could possibly throw it on charts if that's what you do. Unless you hold stocks, that's fine too. Then this video is definitely not for you. But feel free to listen in. So yesterday or Thursday, we were at 968 on the 50 EMA. I never looked at the chart again, and it, I believe, jumped up to 970, which is great because the low of the day would have been 970. So we fell right on that EMA, that 50 EMA, and we had a series bounce back up, which is cool. So you could have sold, you could have bought in at that number, that 50 EMA, and then after confirming that bounce, you could have bought there. And that's generally what I like to do. I like to do a lot of scalp plays, so I could have done this. It's just something I didn't look at. I was too busy playing a couple of other different stocks. Anyways, so we bounced right off of that, and we pretty much worked our way back up. The only the only thing I don't like on this right now is, I think I made mention on a couple of other charts, is the volume had been declining on a weekly chart, which we'll switch to that here in a moment. But if you're looking at the daily, we're looking at some volume actually building up. It's not anything over the average volume, but actually could be. But it's very minimal. Anyways, so that being said, my red, which is my 9 EMA, has crossed down over the 13. Correction, green, that's 20. It's crossed down over that. I don't love that, but if this on Monday opens up and happens to open up greater and starts increasing, that could essentially turn into a rejection. We'll bounce that 9 up and keep going. And again, if they stack up like this, then we're going to be in good shape. That 3 indicator that I use is not really all that important. It's more or less kind of a tool for me to kind of gauge, like, okay, this is the direction we're heading. Is it going to bounce off this EMA, or is it going to fall through? So it's like back here on this moment, we had that 3 come down on that 20. Anyways, that's just kind of my own personal thing. No one really has to use that. It's personal preference. It's just kind of like get good with whatever you're used to using. So now the thing that really boggles my mind and why I say it's a no play for me right now is because if you'll notice, the price action is sitting right on top of the 20. Most of the time it would either be above, most of the time it would be be below, and you could get a clear signal on, okay, maybe we're going to have to break this resistance, or maybe we're going to be using it as support. But the fact that it's on top of it right now at 1036 kind of pisses me off, because I'm like, okay, no clear signal on what this is. Fine, whatever. Now, like I said, if it breaks over that during the week, cool. Or the other thing I could see happening is this could be the start of our downtrend. Obviously, we've started creating higher highs, which would make me think that is not the case. I don't know, though. Like I said, I don't know. And if anybody tells you they do, they're just lying, and that's fine. Whatever. So what I worry about here is that maybe on Monday we do open up lower, and we're going to see this 20 EMA start to act as major resistance. And obviously with the decline in price, the EMA is going to fall, and if it just keeps acting as resistance, then we're never going to break it. Yada, yada, yada. We just downtrend. Now I pulled that 580 number, and that's what I guess really pissed a lot of people off. Rightfully so. No one likes to have their baby called ugly. I get it. Cool. Now the reason I said that was because when I switched to a weekly chart, I look at, before I even chart anything, I actually like to switch over to the weekly. And let me see if I can cancel this out. Sweet. And I think I saved it, I hope. I may not have, and that's fine. Nope, I did. Okay, awesome. So this is the weekly chart. I made that a couple of days ago, and I really just plot out the major supports and resistances. And it's because no matter what I do, even if I get clear sell signals, if I get clear buy signals, none of it makes sense if it doesn't correlate with the overall support. And I do it on the weekly because when you look at a weekly candle chart, the support and resistance tends to be um, stronger. So I can go on the daily and I can see where there's some resistance or where there's a support, and it may hit it, it may not hit it. Either way, it's just going to be either weaker support than that's plotted out on the weekly chart. And so that's why I always plot there. And I'm looking at it. So 7 actually it's looking like it's pretty good support. Um, and then below that's going to be somewhere around $4. And I think when I was charting this out, that 50 EMA was sitting at like 5, and that's a pretty strong support too. It just depends. Now, one thing I want to mention is on the weekly chart, we have a very healthy looking set of EMAs, and we are about to make contact with that 9 EMA, which is sitting somewhere at 1002. So I wouldn't be surprised if on Monday this wants to drop to 1002. So like I said, don't get scared. The weekly chart tends to be a little bit more accurate, I guess is the word. So we may stay at 1002. If it breaks through that, then we're looking at 948, which is the 13. And I kind of use those as supports on the way down. Obviously 7 being major resistance, but you got to remember this is a weekly chart. So if it happens on Monday, that doesn't mean the weekly is closing. The weekly has to close on the end of Friday. So like this one didn't close till Friday. So don't get scared if this bad boy drops to 807, but it's Wednesday. I don't think that'll happen, but just be prepared that whenever Friday rolls around, if it bounces back up, that you're really going to screw yourself if you have sold and are basing it off the weekly chart. That's why I look at the daily. You can kind of see. And like I said, I made note earlier about the volume being an issue. You can use your own set of indicators to figure out what it is that you like. I often use PMO, kind of like a volume indicator. I'm really big on volume. If you, it's like the one indicator that makes the most sense. And I think one of my favorite books is going to be by Anna Collings. It's called Volume Price Analysis. I recommend anybody who's interested in doing TA to pick it up. Because it's kind of like volume's like a precursor. The way she described it was that volume is like a storm. First you get a couple of raindrops, you see the clouds overhead, and then, boom, that's when the big storm happens. So there's always going to be sell signals, buy signals, and volume's one of the big ones. So like I said, just good book. Check it out if you want to. If not, don't worry about it. Anyways, kind of on to the next issue is here on this week we had this huge green candle, and I think if we flip back to the daily, there's also a huge green candle. I'm a pretty big proponent on gap theory. It works for a lot of large cap stocks. Generally, if you shoot up, you have to fill that gap by coming back down before you can go back up and create a new higher high. That's the only reason I don't like that. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the case for every stock. It's just happened a lot. So that's something to take into consideration. Either way, like I said, for me, again, it's a no play. I'll wait for something to develop because my rule is I don't have to catch the bottom. I don't really have to sell the top. I want to catch somewhere where I know the signal's good, and I want to sell somewhere above that because for me, it's all just about making money. But like I said, the daily is kind of confusing. I want to see it develop. If this does happen to close below the 9 EMA, you've always got your 50 EMA to catch that. And you can kind of see from previous that we made this higher high after all of this. And we made this like new high. I guess it would probably be a 52-week high. I'm not going to count those candles. And then we basically dropped all the way. You can see the price action kind of hovered around that major support line. But closed back up there, and then all these other EMAs kind of acted as resistance. But if you'll notice, that support was pretty heavy. However, the price action did dip down to that 50 EMA, which is cool. So you've kind of got like an idea of where the price action is going to fall. So if it falls below the 9, you can expect the 13 to catch it, maybe. Or you can see it come down to the 20. So if it drops that far, if it drops below the crucial EMAs or supports, then you can expect the price action to maybe hit the next one, just depending on whatever EMAs you use. This is my setup. Get good with your own setup. Figure it out. You'll get it. And same thing here. But that $7, oh no, I'm sorry, that's $4. I've been saying 7. That $4 support has acted as really good support. So another thing I want to make note of is that whenever you test a support or whenever you test a resistance, no matter how many times, well, it does matter how many times it's been tested. In fact, that's the point I want to get across, is that the more you test a particular support or resistance, the weaker that support or resistance becomes. So that's something to keep in mind. We haven't really touched it, so there's a very good chance that even like with this one right here, we could jump back up, and or we could drop down to it and jump back up, which would be $7. And again, just be mindful of what we're looking at here. If we do break through that 8, we could test 13. We could hit that. It's more likely we'll hit that 20 EMA, which is right around $8. So, anyways, that's the gist of everything. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. Again, like I said, I just wanted to make this video because it was pretty, man, that post, that sucked, because a lot of good information in that post that didn't get portrayed, and I feel bad about it, more or less, because like I don't really care what anybody says about me. I don't take anything personal because the market doesn't take anybody personal, and that's fine. Like you know, calling it within 2 cents, I'm like, okay, well, I knew for myself, but that sucks because somebody else could have made a good profit on that. But either way, that's all water under the bridge, and I hope I made a couple of amends with some people, and I hope this video helps out anybody. But yeah, keep an eye on the weekly chart. Let's see if it holds at 9. And if you're looking at the daily, let's see if we break that 20 EMA as the resistance. Other than that, like I said, just keep an eye on it. We could be hitting a downtrend, or we could be bouncing right off that crucial EMA, and we're about to skyrocket up to a new high, which would be pretty cool. Again, the volume's a little low on the weekly, so I don't know if that's going to happen. Let's just wait. Let's find out. Again, message me, mention me, whatever. If you have any questions, I'm going to do my best to get those answered. And yeah, that's all I got for today, so good luck.